Well, we talk a lot about Canadians grappling with affordability, and the impact on homeowners is certainly growing. The number of homeowners, for example, in Toronto or around the GTA struggling to pay their mortgage each month has more than quadrupled in the past 3 years. A recent report by the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation says the issue of missed mortgage payments most apparent right here in the GTA. And in the third quarter of last year, almost 2,800 mortgage holders were in arrears. That is up from 662 the same quarter of 2022, the last time things were kind of this bad. So for more on the issue and strategies to help, we're joined live this morning by licensed mortgage agent Jennine Youl. Jennine, appreciate you coming in this morning to talk about this.
My pleasure.
You've been doing this for about 18 years. You haven't seen a scenario like this before.
Correct.
Just how precarious is it for some people with this affordability crisis who are mortgage holders as well right now?
I think there's a lot of Canadians that are struggling, and particularly in the GTA, where we have seen just the cost of living soar. It's hard. There is a lot of Canadians who are now facing unprecedented issues around affordability. So yes, most Canadians will do everything possible to make that mortgage payment. I remember years ago hearing from one of the major mortgage insurers that Canadians will sell their car and take the bus before they will miss a mortgage payment.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean the struggle isn't very real for a lot of Canadians, and we're seeing that in the numbers.
Well, we certainly see the GTA. I mean, we know there are some pretty monster mortgages out there, you know, just based on basically the price of real estate here.
Correct.
But what's your advice, Jennine, if some of your clients call you up today and say, oh my gosh, I think I'm close to missing a mortgage payment, what's sort of like the top 3 things you would tell them?
That they've done the right thing.
Okay.
That would be the first thing. Calling me, calling a licensed mortgage professional, that is the first step, because a lot of times, unfortunately, borrowers are waiting till it's almost too late to get involved, to get engaged.
Yeah.
Once they've started missing mortgage payments, once all of their credits, it's been maxed out. If you've lines of credit, mortgages, and credit cards all maxed out, that's when we really run into issues. It's very difficult to solve a situation like that.
Yeah.
That said, if someone actually is calling before or when they're just on the cusp, when they're concerned that might be where they're headed, that's how they're going to get ahead of the situation. That's when we can often present options and look at temporary or sometimes long-term solutions.
What are some of those options or solutions then?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you had an insured mortgage, so if you bought with 20%, less than 20% down, you haven't refinanced, one of the 3 major mortgage insurers would have provided default insurance on that mortgage. Okay. So CMHC, Sagen, Canada Guarantee, they want to keep homeowners in their homes. That's part of their mandate. So they want to try and work with you to find a solution. It's not always perfect, but they are going to try. The banks, they don't want to own homes. That's not what they're in the business of. They want to find solutions for borrowers as well. So sometimes engaging your own bank, whoever holds the existing mortgage, they're going to try and work with you. If you're still not finding the answers that you need, someone like myself, someone who's in the industry, this is all they do, they're often able to look at second-tier lenders, sometimes private lenders. It's not always a great long-term solution, but sometimes it's the temporary solution someone needs to get ahead, to get back on track, or to potentially sell to give themselves that option.
So if someone, Jennine, is watching us this morning in this potentially precarious situation with their mortgages and they've left it late, which it sounds like a lot of people potentially do here, how quickly can you get financing sort of lined up to avoid, I mean, effectively, if you default like on your mortgage entirely, you lose your home.
That's right. Yeah. And like I said, banks don't want to own homes. They don't want a power of sale situation. But most of the time, private lenders can move quite quickly. It's, again, not a long-term solution. I don't want to be ever putting someone in a private mortgage for the long term, but sometimes as a temporary stopgap to allow them the ability to put the house on the market for sale, especially as we're heading into what will hopefully be somewhat of a spring market here in the GTA. If that's where you're sitting, that time may be just exactly what you need to give yourself options.
And you can put it in perspective too, you know, the Canadian experience versus the American experience as well, right? Because there is a real contrast, you know, across the border.
Very different. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. So I always like to liken it. There's a little bit of perspective that has to be had. So yes, mortgage arrears have climbed really significantly. Like we were talking about 4 times what they were in the third quarter of 2022. That being said, compared to our American counterparts south of the border, their current mortgage default, like their arrears, is more than double what ours is on a national average. So GTA, that's currently sort of the worst in all of Canada. We're experiencing the greatest number of arrears, but we're still nowhere near as much as our U.S. friends. Okay, well, listen, Jennine, appreciate the perspective and the advice for people out there, you know, potentially in this situation. Thanks for coming in this morning. Dude, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.